Good afternoon. Firstly, I'd like to thank IPGA for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. Praveen, always a pleasure to be part of this forum and Vice Chairman. I'd also like to express gratitude to the dignitaries who are here on the dais, Secretary Consumer Affairs, Chairman Forward Markets Commission, Srimati Verma, and all friends from the industry. It's a pleasure to be part of this event. I'd like to spend a few moments talking about how the market structure, when I say the market structure, I refer to the organized, more structured, more regulated market structure. Of course, the market structure has two aspects to it. There is the physical market structure, which continues, which operates the way it is, and goes through a slow evolutionary process on an ongoing basis. But the regulated market structure has actually, in my view, over the last, I'd say about 12 to 18 months, gone through a fairly significant change on a variety of aspects. So typically, if you see an exchange executive talking to the industry, you would expect the exchange executive to talk about the futures markets, price risk management, hedging, which I will certainly talk about. But I'd like to also this time talk about the spot markets and the forward markets, which also has been slowly, gradually, perhaps unnoticed to a large extent, been going through quite a big change. And it's very pertinent to talk about that in the current environment, mainly because of the thrust that the government is placing on the creation of the national agri market as has been espoused in the economic survey, as well as by the Prime Minister and by the Finance Minister in the budget as well. So it's very useful to understand the developments there, the implications, the benefits, advantages that the industry can derive from these markets. So I'll start with some of the work that that is happening, for example, in the state of Karnataka, and we've been fortunate enough to be partners with the government, state government of Karnataka, where through a joint venture mechanism, all the APMCs in Karnataka are getting modernized. So I'm glad to report that as of last month, more than 50% of the arrivals in Karnataka now go through a modern mandi architecture, which has been put in place by the state government, facilitated by the subsidiary of NCDEX called NCDEX E-Markets Limited. This change is, although just in one state, has quite significant ramifications and positive implications. For the first time in the country, there is a state which has a single licensing requirement. So, traditionally, the APMCs existed as islands of markets in most states. In Karnataka now, basically all the mandis are now, at least the ones that are now on the platform, have now been integrated through a single licensing structure, and it is now acting like a single market across the state. And obviously, in the context of pulses, Karnataka is a big tour bowl for the country. So this starts to become the sort of lay the foundations of what could evolve down the line as a national agri market. So it's important for all of us in the industry to understand some of these developments. The economic survey makes mention of the Karnataka model, as they call it, and that's quite an important step forward. The government has also announced the creation of the Agri Infrastructure Technology Fund, AITF, of 200 crores, and the government has announced recently a tender had come out for selection of a consultant towards putting together the RFP, the request for proposal, for appointing the technology partner for putting together a national agri market. So I think what has been traditionally, not traditionally, but has been of late a thought, slowly that thought is turning into action. And I think by the time we meet, hopefully in the biennial Pulses conclave in some time from now, we'll have seen some more progress in this direction. And these are subtle but very strong sort of changes which will change the way the formal market structure will evolve. And the reason I emphasize on this aspect is also because one of the things that we can control as an industry, obviously weather patterns cannot be controlled, but what can be controlled is the marketing mechanism and the supply chain mechanism, and some of these steps go a long way in managing those parameters that eventually lead to creation of an efficient market structure for price discovery. A few other examples. Our subsidiary also has been involved in electronic procurement for state agencies and central agencies. So we've been involved in work where the traditional physical paper-based tendering process for procurement of pulses is now getting replaced in many states and in central agencies through electronic markets, making the whole procurement process far more transparent, reducing the losses associated in this procurement process, and thereby making the entire procurement process for welfare programs more efficient, more cost effective, and thereby releasing more funds which hopefully can be channelized into developing the market, more money in the pockets of farmers, and so on and so forth. So some of these changes are quite subtle, unnoticed, but fairly important in terms of their implications for developing a good market structure. I'll move up the value chain from spot markets and talk about something quite unique, which I must thank Shri Ramesh Abhishek for his significant leadership in this sector by encouraging the exchanges to develop a forward segment, which the exchange NCDEX has launched a few months back, and this provides the missing link between the spot markets, physical markets, and the futures markets, which is for the purposes of price discovery and risk management. The forward segment is very interesting. It's very early days at the moment, but it attempts to bring the OTC, the over-the-counter physical markets, into the formal market structure. The OTC markets are characterized by their, although they've been working for the last so many years fairly effectively, but given the nature of these markets, they are characterized by certain limitations. So they are mostly bilateral in nature. And typically bilateral in nature means there is, either for the buyer or the seller, there is limited national reach. They are also characterized by a high incidence of counterparty default, and counterparty default is reached a certain stage in our physical markets in the country today where it isn't even considered a default. It's become business as usual. But just because it's business as usual doesn't mean it's the right way of doing things, because defaults get factored into pricing. Then pricing thus becomes inefficient, and supply chains then become disrupted in that sense. So by launching the forward segment, we are attempting to offer a alternative to the industry to route your physical market trades through the exchange platform, regulated by the regulator, by the Forward Markets Commission, where not just price discovery but clearing and settlement can happen through a transparent, robust, regulated infrastructure. Which we believe will be quite a significant game changer in the days, months, and years to come. It is indeed a unique development. Even international markets do OTC clearing, which is quite a common phenomenon nowadays in most international markets. But OTC trading on an exchange is unique, and I think we must thank the regulator for this leadership and this vision to actually bring price discovery of OTC markets onto the exchange infrastructure. So that you move up the value chain. I talked a bit about spot markets and developments there, the missing link, which is the forward segment, and then move on to futures. Chana futures just a few other things on the forward segment. We've launched 27 commodities on the forward segment, and of the pulses basket, there are 4 commodities in the pulses basket, which is chana, tur dal, urad, as well as yellow peas, which is interesting in its own way. Because the chana, of course, is available on the futures platform for trading, so there is price discovery there. But the other three, tur, udad, and yellow peas, are not available on the futures segment at the moment. So at least the forward segment begins to start to offer, for the first time in some years, because we used to have tur and udad earlier, a price discovery mechanism and a national sort of opportunity to discover prices and to get better in estimation of prices and risk management. So moving to futures, the chana obviously contract that NCDEX offers has been a fairly robust liquid contract. We back it up by a very, very strong delivery infrastructure, which is spread across 450 odd warehouses in the country, managed by the NCDEX ecosystem, about 2 million metric tons of capacity, and the chana, the open interest to volume ratio is quite, the production to open interest ratio is quite healthy for chana. So there is a fairly large amount of India's produce, either through imports or through domestic production, which is now managed and risk managed on the exchange through the futures contract. The interesting development that has happened over the last few months as far as the futures market is concerned is the addition of a new delivery center, which is Ganj Basoda, and that is shaping up reasonably well. Early days, the Rabi arrivals and the deliveries in warehouses will tell us whether that new delivery center is becoming acceptable. But it is a fairly well developed physical center in any case. There is a good amount of warehousing capacity in that center, so we are hoping that the industry will take advantage of this new delivery center in the months to come. Also, we have simplified the grading structure in our contract specifications, which will help in a more simple and easy to use contract architecture for the chana contract. Finally, I would like to end by completing the value chain in the market structure, which is, I started by talking about spot markets, the forward markets, futures markets. Finally, I'd like to sort of sum up by talking about agri-financing. Traditionally, agri-financing has happened by and large in the informal sector, and of course banks through the collateral management and priority sector lending do a fairly good job. At the exchange, we've been working to offer another way of securing finance for stocks that are stored in the exchange warehouses, and to offer a very efficient, safe way of pledging that stock and securing finance against them. I'm glad to report that we have now almost done 1,000 crores, a small number, in the larger scheme of things, but it's still a number, a decent number. About 1,000 crores of financing has happened over the last year through stocks that are stored at the exchange warehouse. So it starts to give farmers, FPOs, traders another alternative source of securing finance. On the forward segment, we now have about 17 to 20 farmer producing organizations that have taken membership of the forward segment. So it's the market structure is now going deeper into the physical markets, and hopefully through that penetration, we expect that the market structure will become more and more efficient as we go further, and that will be our sort of limited sort of contribution to the pulses industry, and hoping that that results in a better marketing infrastructure, a better supply chain infrastructure, and eventually better price realization for producers and a better price for the consumers. So with that, I've tried to give a more holistic picture in terms of how the market structure is evolving and changing, rather than a very limited perspective on futures, which has been the case. I think thanks to the regulator and the support of the government, the commodity markets are now taking their next giant stride to reach out to the farmer and make sure that the farmer benefits from the market structure, which he has so far been by and large excluded from. So thank you very much. I'd like to assure the support of the exchange to the industry. We'll always be a partner to the industry, and we will look to do our best through innovation of products and services to be of service. Thank you very much.